Our goal is rethinking community housing towards affordable, sustainable and inclusive living. Using recycled concrete, an automated design process and a user platform, conCreate encourages a relationship between community, architecture and environment. Despite the users not being a part of the design process of their community building, they are essential to the life of the building itself. Through the application, they are able to live sustainably and feel part of a community. Focusing on London and its surroundings, the population has grown dramatically over time, exceeding 9 million people in its 32 boroughs. Land, houses and material prices face the same growth, with 27% of London households spending about 70% of their monthly wage on private renting, 8.3% of which live in dense and overcrowded spaces. In parallel, nearly 50,000 buildings are being demolished every year in the UK, most of them in the Greater London area, with a consequent abundance of free concrete, usually piled into landfills or illegally disposed of. We propose a new way of thinking about our city, taking into account the housing crisis and wasted material at the same time. Concrete buildings slated to be demolished become our quarries, giving us the pieces with which to create new design proposals. This is conCreate. Utilising brownfield land provided by the government and recycling concrete, it aims to provide housing in an innovative and efficient way. Starting from the reclaiming process of our material, we catalogued a series of concrete buildings, differentiated into 3 main families according to their structure. A moment-resisting frame is characterised by a dense structure of columns and beams. It is mainly used for office buildings as it offers great flexibility and transparency. A bearing wall system is characterised by continuous shear walls running along with the full building height. Common in residential buildings, it offers strength and stability. Lastly, a hybrid system represents a fusion between the aforementioned categories, with a 3D frame and load-bearing core at the same time. Our construction process is hence a reverse process. Starting from an existing building, we deconstruct it and reuse its elements in order to build a new one. The deconstruction, a computationally developed procedure, consists of creating a voxel grid around the building and then differentiating the elements of the building according to their function. This process is applicable to buildings of any size and shape, and results in a catalogue of elements, each with its own likelihood to be recycled and reused. This allows us to determine the cutting sequence in order to dismantle the building. Different machines and tools are available for cutting concrete according to the type of cut and its goal. After having researched the potentials and limitations of each of them, conCreate's peculiarity is the use of the diamond wire saw, which provides highly accurate and circular cuts while being efficient. All the cut pieces respect the restrictions and constraints of transportation methods. These mainly involve the lowboy trailer for transporting the pieces and the flatbed trailer for transporting heavy equipment and machinery. Here is the illustrated process of conCreate acting on a concrete building. And these are some real images depicting the process. From the cutting process, we obtain our library of raw materials, including any sort of element, whose structural features are known and recorded. These components are then transported to the factory, where they are scanned, cut and refined before being prepared for post-tensioning and catalogued based on their features. Customization is a part of this process. Here is an example of an arch and its various assembly options. All the components now lose their native function, able to assume new and different ones. conCreate proposes itself not as an isolated experiment, but a potential solution for all buildings nearing the end of their lifespan. According to the particular site, the first step consists of applying a two-dimensional grid corresponding to the grid typology that conCreate adapts and evolves. This grid of 4x4 meter voxels. For our project's purposes, we chose to work in Newham, one of the boroughs most affected by the housing crisis, in dire need of new affordable housing. After selecting the site, we proceed with the sun analysis of the area. This allows us to generate each unique shape of the building according to the maximum exposure, taking into account the characteristics of the neighbourhood. This study brings us to three-dimensional voxels, which are then further distinguished into private and shared spaces inside the community, arranged and connected through circulation. conCreate users rent their private space, that is, the ensuite bedroom, whilst sharing facilities and common areas. All non-essential spaces are accessible through the use of points, gained and spent inside the community, encouraging a sustainable and very hands-on community lifestyle. The arrangement of these spaces occurs computationally through the use of the wave function collapse algorithm. Starting from tiles input with declared adjacencies, the algorithm allows us to procedurally generate our entire floor plan. These are our tiles corresponding to our 4x4 meter rooms with their connections, where the same color means possible connections. This constraint-based algorithm is able to create infinite combinations. Some possible couplings are depicted here, highlighting the connection types that they share. As we proceed, the combinations of tiles exponentially increases, showing infinite possibilities of spatial arrangement. This is the wave function collapse algorithm working on our site and shaping our building. Firstly, we can see the connections being arranged accordingly. Then we can see the tiles arranged and aggregated following our predefined rules. However, conCreate's methodical approach is versatile and bespoke to every site. Here we see iterations of the algorithm on a variety of sites and building volumes, ranging from high-rise to low-rise structures. These tiles act like molds for the previously extracted concrete parts. These are some examples of tiles being created by the aggregator, furnished in different ways. Private rooms are permanent, while shared spaces are temporary in definition, adaptive to whichever activity they host. In order to stitch all the tiles together, conCreate uses the post-tensioning technique. All the parts have holes that were pre-drilled in the factory and arrive ready for assembly. After positioning the components in their final location, tendons are inserted in the cavities and tensioned through the use of a hydraulic jack. Last in the process is the placement of a metal plate and fasteners, which keep the tendons stressed and in place. The aggregator we have developed is responsible for the computation of this task. Using the L-system algorithm, we define the facade of the building. Based on rules that we set beforehand, this algorithm creates strings of elements by substituting each element on each iteration. The second and final step of the aggregator is the aggregation of the interior walls. Here is the animation of the entire building aggregating, starting from the facade of the ground floor to its interior walls, and repeating the process for each layer. For conCreate members, the app is a place where a user has control at their fingertips. Let's break down how the app works in 4 simple steps. Upon logging in, the member has access to the conCreate interface, which then allows them to earn points. There are 3 ways to do so: energy efficiency, space evaluation, and skills exchange. Information is then stored in the cloud, where it tallies points for the members. Consequently, these points can be used for unlocking shared spaces, booking services, and upgrading appliances and storage. For guests, the app follows the mainstream procedure of signing in and then allows the user to rent available shared spaces, making them a subscribed user, which in the long run will be rewarding. Heading over to the conCreate app. Now let's familiarize ourselves with how this app really works. We have a panel for chats to keep in touch with our community, a notification panel where we receive evaluations, booking confirmations, and so forth. Seems like Sophie has received an energy consumption evaluation, another sustainability encouraging way to earn points. The app also has a panel displaying a community tree of all conCreate members and their details if required, which brings us to our most crucial panel, the calendar. Through this, members are able to make bookings based on their point meter and opted-in services. In this case, Sophie needs to book a space for her dinner party tomorrow. The process is fairly simple: specify the kind of service, pick the day and time of the event, and voila, booking has been confirmed. Seems like Sophie is also planning to run some last-minute errands, so she proceeds to book a ride with her remaining points. Now, moving on to our next order of business. Sophie needs to put in a maintenance request for repairs. This can be easily done through our app in 3 simple steps. The homepage has a maintenance tab that makes the process very convenient. All Sophie needs to do is specify the type of space, scan the building component using her phone camera, and then once scanning is completed, highlight the affected area, and then the app will prompt her with the options she could use as fixes. In the case of needing further assistance, the app also has options of offering skilled labor or asking a neighbor, which in turn brings us back to the community tree panel. The last thing on Sophie's list is booking a workspace for today. So here she goes to the calendar app as before, selecting time and day and location for her desired space, but whoops, turns out she's used up all her points in order to do so. But that's not a problem, because the app will then show her possible ways to earn points. In this instance, it's through exchangeable skills by helping her neighbours. Looks like she has a notification. She's received the space evaluation, which in turn has earned Sophie's points, one of the ways in which our platform allows its members to earn points. All they have to do is download the app and sign up as a guest using their personal details. The process for booking a space is similar to that for conCreate members. After defining what space they'd like, they can head to the calendar to pick a day and specify the duration of their booking. The app calculates the total amount due, which they can then pay online, and they'll shortly receive a notification confirming their booking. Scan the provided QR code upon arrival at the destination, and they're good to go.